Joker 2 was an utter and complete failure of continuing the thread that was started in the first movie. It was a failure, but it could have been one of the 21st century's greats. Just as the first movie, it was supposed to be about the man, Arthur, and the beast, Joker, and their relationship. And it sort of was, at least at the beginning, but at one point it became a fiasco. Let's look at what Joker 2 was, what it was trying to explore, where it went south, and where it should have gone instead. First things first, the first Joker movie ended with Arthur being at dead zero with 6 bodies and Gotham in flames. Arthur was fed up with his life and he was taking the world with him. I, as pretty much everyone, was expecting the second movie to follow the events of the first one. I was expecting Arthur to embrace the Joker part of himself, I was expecting social tensions to rise, plenty of mayhem, and perhaps a revolution. It would have been the obvious direction, but none of that happened. While the first Joker movie had a crystal clear aim at exploring the emergence of Joker, the second movie was all over the place. What we got was an inner conflict between Arthur and Joker, a misfitting love story, and loads of random singing. You could keep the inner conflict part that suits the psychological vibe of the movie. You could keep the love story part as well, but then it would have to be that she's all about him, not vice versa. After all, the movie wasn't called Lady Gaga, it was called The Joker. The singing, though, makes no sense, since what it really does is throw you out of the story. A movie like Joker needs intensity and immersion. After all, you're trying to show a world of a literal mental patient. Once we throw out the trash, we're left with a movie which explores the relationship between the Joker and Arthur, with an unfortunate emphasis on the Arthur side of things. The most revealing part of the movie was the cartoon intro. The cartoon part is an encapsulation of how the authors saw the first movie. The Joker takes control, and Arthur has to live with the consequences of somebody else's actions. It's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Hulk and David, the narrator and Tyler motive, with the caveat that Arthur is a victim of Joker's actions. That's what's presented in the cartoon, and that's the case Arthur's attorney tries to prove.
It caused a split. This fragmentation in you to help you cope with your pain. She believes you have another person living inside of you. And it was this other person who committed those crimes.
They are paddling a line where the Joker is a dissociated part of Arthur, i.e., Arthur has multiple personality disorder. It's an interesting direction. A movie based around multiple personality disorder can be very successful. There's a tiny problem though. Arthur doesn't have MPD. Cases of MPD have 4 fairly consistent symptoms: the presence of 2 or more distinct personality states, loss of identity as related to individual distinct personality states, loss of one's subjective experience of the passage of time, degradation of a sense of self and consciousness. If you're being very open-minded, then the only symptom you could attribute to Arthur is the presence of 2 distinct personality states. Compare the case of Mary Reynolds, a woman who actually had MPD. In her own state, she was an introverted, shy girl who liked to find a secluded place and read the Bible. In her other state, she was an extroverted, gregarious girl who messed with the people for the fun of it, explored everything she could, and mocked the Bible. The changes between states lasted for days or weeks, and neither had any memories of others' actions. That is how a typical case of MPD looks like. To say that Arthur had another independent personality within him which takes control is absurd. Take away takes control part, and we might be getting somewhere. In the cartoon, the Joker is presented as Arthur's shadow. I think it's more than a coincidence, it's a statement. In analytical psychology, the shadow is a term. It's the representation of primal parts of ourselves which haven't been incorporated into the total personality. The Joker is not just supposed to be a dissociated part, he's supposed to be a specific disassociated part. He's a personification of Arthur's shadow. You can make a movie about it for sure. Hulk, Jekyll and Hyde, Bleach, Venom, to name just a few. I feel awkward bringing it up again, but Joker 2 runs straight into a wall. Joker isn't a representation of Arthur's shadow. He just isn't. The nature of the shadow is childlike. I want this and I will get it in any way possible, violence included. The shadow lacks foresight. The shadow isn't charismatic and it isn't centered around chaos. But the Joker is. He's all about chaos. Violence is just means to achieve it. Given all of that, where does that leave us? The authors developed a plot where Arthur has multiple personality disorder, which he doesn't. They diagnosed Joker as a shadow figure, which he isn't. They inserted a love story which made no sense, and they added singing because they had a superstar singer on set. It's sort of difficult to end a movie with no central plot, and for that reason it felt like it didn't culminate. The culmination was supposed to be the moment Arthur admitted to being just Arthur. This culmination itself makes a mockery on the whole MPD thread, since it means that he never actually had it. And you're left pondering, if Arthur doesn't have an MPD, then why introduce that idea in the first place? The Joker wasn't Arthur's shadow either, since he was very aware of what he did. In the end, the culmination showed how the most of the plot development was pointless. To add insult to injury, the movie, which is called Joker 2, had almost nothing to do with Joker, and instead focused on Arthur. The main issue I have with Joker 2 is that it misunderstood the character about which the whole movie revolves around. The authors failed to realize just how primal the Joker character really is. Cultures around the world tend to have a character which represents chaos. Titans in ancient Greece, Tiamat in Mesopotamia, Loki in Norse mythology. What the Joker really represents is the modern version of the chaos monster. The old chaos monsters used to look like animals or were of divine nature, for an obvious reason. That's where the chaos came from. If an animal kills someone you know, then that animal brought a lot of chaos in your life. If an uncontrolled force of nature destroys your tribe, then that's a chaos monster as well. The 21st century brain doesn't believe in monsters and gods, yet our psychological makeup is the same as it was 3000 years ago. We need a figure representing chaos, just in a form that's relatable to us. No longer do we live in a world where most chaos is brought by animals or nature. Now he's just a man. A resentful man who can rile up a mob to upset the established order. That's the modern chaos monster. What I wanted was an exploration of that. I wanted to see the Joker to continue what he started in the first movie. Instead of creating a villain of the century, Joker 2 was the disappointment of the decade. On the bright side, if you want to see what Joker 2 should have been, you can go and watch Dark Knight. It doesn't solely focus on the Joker, but at least you get to see a syzygy between chaos as embodied in Joker and order as embodied in Batman.